Hey, what's going on, everybody? Over here, Kellen Cash, Work Break Conversation. I want to talk about this book you might or might not know. Alan Weiss, PhD. Boom. Getting started in consulting. Alan is the most um, I'm going to say he's written more books on consulting than anybody, and that makes him an expert. And he has bestsellers. You'll see the New York bestseller on this book because he is a best-selling author. Whether this book is a bestseller yet, who knows? This is the fourth edition. But Alan Weiss, if you don't know in consulting, as he states in his book, you are an amateur if you don't know. And a lot of people don't know because I've been talking to people about, hey, who put me on Alan Weiss? And I was asking, and folks are like, who, what? And I've been trying to explain, like, we have been doing consulting not all wrong, but we definitely have improvements that we need to do. And I mean, it's the little things that make the big difference. So when clients or potential clients come to me and they say, hey, so and so told me about you, but they did not tell me how expensive you would be, that's because I require a certain amount of money. And there are those times that you love a project, you just want to be a part of it, but those are the times where you actually get to own a part of the business. So, I was going through some things in this book, and if you know anything about consultants, marketers, PR, everybody knows everything. It's hard to teach folks, especially if they've done this for over 10 years, how to, improve or things that they can do better. Because I'm like, oh, yeah, I did that. I did that. But your paycheck does not reflect that. You might have said you did it, but you didn't apply some of these things. So I found one of the things. I was talking to one of my friends and team members about and I've been talking to actually a couple about, because I've got everybody on this so far, and this is on page 105. I really want to do a whole review of this book, but I'm going to talk to Alan on Monday, and I'm going to he's coming back from overseas, and I want to talk to him before I do it because I don't want to give away his whole book on YouTube without his blessing, because it's not like I want to give it away and read it, but I would do that. But I want to give the tips and the breakdown, especially for the young consultants and the old who just don't know. But one thing that I've been getting everybody on that he writes in his book, and check this out, I'm not going to read it verbatim because I already know it, right? But he writes in his book that you need to say, in lieu of payment in the contract, payment is basically you're agreeing to these terms. And people always think pay, pay, pay. I have clients that on a shake of a hand, and they pay thousands of dollars monthly. Maybe things started with paperwork, but we don't do paperwork anymore because we know we do good business. I always tell people, like Hasidic Jews, we do good business, because your reputation is all that you have in this. You can't steal one penny. You can't misplace one penny of someone else's money when you're a consultant. You are responsible if you collect money for someone. This is like working for connected guys. And if you've ever lived in New England, you know what I'm talking about. You live in New York, you know what I'm talking about. When you do certain type of business, you need to do it right. It can be life or death. So he talks about, if you pay me even a partial payment, you agree to the terms that are in this paperwork. Now, some folks would say, no, I need to make sure this paperwork is signed and this and that. But some folks are idiots. Some folks know it all. Some folks have been around the block so many times they think they can't learn anything. The reason that he says on page 105 of this book, he says that because he was working for a New York insurance company, big company, $100,000 contracts. Yes, $100,000. So for those who think you're big time because you've gotten your first two or three or whatever it is, right? Yeah, $100,000 contracts. 10 grand and up a month. He says he asked the guy one time, "Why did you pay me, but you didn't send my contract back?" And the guy explains to him and says, "I have permission to write $125 worth of checks, $125,000 worth of checks, okay? Six-figure checks. But I don't have permission to sign contracts. And if I would have sent this to legal, it would have, who God knows how long it would have took. So you want the money, you want to work, let's get busy, because that's what he could do. So guess what I did? As soon as that happened, those our contracts, boom, changed immediately, because that's something that I did not even think of. And I know that going to the next level, I have to get even tighter in my business, because I'm saying no more than I want to. And I'm thinking, okay, sometimes it's price, sometimes it's the scope, sometimes it's both. Sometimes the person is a dope and I don't want to have to deal with that. But I need to go to whatever that next level is. I have some conferences lined up. Thank God kids are in not daycare. Kids are in kindergarten. Kids are in, fourth grade. I'm able to move around and do what I need to do. And even when I got to get out of town or out of the country, now my wife, which is even more important, is able to move around. And with some former clients, which are daycares, they are now picking up at our kids' school so they can pick them up when I'm not around. Because daddy likes to pick kids up. I just got that protective spirit. I'd rather drop you off, pick you up, than you taking a bus. But when I'm gone, great. You do what you do. And they love it. They love taking that van and all that with, because, it's their friends. Friends own the company. It's all one family out here. So he talks about these things, and I changed real quick. There's so much information in here that made me feel like I wasn't an alien, because there are some things, and I think all consultants, all marketers, people, you go through this, especially when you have done it for a while, of, am I just strange? And now you're continually having to teach clients, teach subcontractors, teach people this is how we do business. And the one thing that I've learned is you got to do business like we do business. You know what I mean? Especially if you don't do, I don't want to say good business, but if you don't seem to have a system, even when you call our phones, you get automatic text, because if you want to talk business, you need to book some time. You need to book some time, and people call and say, "Hey, I'm a client." Okay, this is automated. I use AI every chance I get. I would recommend you do too. And I'd recommend that you get this book and his best-selling $1 Million Consulting. Get that too. But there's so much, there's steps and everything. And I think sometimes people might see, and I'm sure he did this in purpose, the $1 Million Consulting, which reminds me of the cover, reminds me of this book, Music, Money, and Success, that I have over here, that I actually had my first book take from that cover. And I put quick tips and guides in the same, like, I won't say the same font, but the same color, similar colors. And I did that because I love the Music, Money, and Success, written by these two lawyers. They've done so many editions, just like Alan Weiss. You have to get the game from the elders. You have to get the game from those who've done it before you and bigger than you, so you can strive to say, I want to do that. And, when I say the elders, that's a title like chief, like king. That doesn't mean anyone's old. Anyone needs to get out of there. Because I know Alan, I've seen his YouTube, and he's like, I can do it better than the young guys. And you got to have that spirit in this game. And a lot of people, I think, have confidence in marketing, but I think a lot of times it's that fake confidence. Unless you're like really hot, And then you're like, okay, I'm hot right now. But as soon as you don't get as hot, you don't get on the Forbes, you don't get on the, whatever your level and goal is, you don't have a big conference coming up like CES and you're able to spend $1 million or $500,000 like we did with Synology. You just are like, oh, okay, what am I going to do? I'm playing in the minor leagues again. So it's like going from the majors back to the minors, and you're like, I want to go back to the majors. I need that thrill. Like the song said, just one more thrill. But don't stop believing, and keep pushing, and make sure that if you're doing consulting, you have this book. I got it from the library. I was about 10 to 20 pages in. I went on Amazon and said, purchase. I had it like 3 days later, something like that. And I let my father-in-law, I said, hey, you can read the library copy, because he's big time consultant, but he's retired. But I said, hey, this might bring you out of retirement, because this gives you that zeal. I mean, he's done it for the government, UN, you know, big things. But over here, I have my own like little team of advisors. I can ask, like, is this a good move? Is that a good move? And I do that with my father-in-law, with my father. I do that with who else do I do that with? I just got a team of support. You got to have support. And Alan talks about that in the beginning of the book. Like, when you want to go into consulting, you're going to need your wife's support. Oh, thank God I have a supportive wife. You're going to need, the right people around you, and get the wrong people. I'm giving the O'Shea muscle finger. Get them out of here, because they're going to throw you off. And I've tried to push this down, some people's throat. And I've heard, hey, we got real issues going on, Kellen. I ain't trying to hear about no book. And I get it, because just because I'm excited doesn't mean everyone else is going to be excited. And it doesn't mean it's their time either. But I know that if you're rolling with me and I'm going to get blessed off this book, I'm going to bring my supportive system with me. And the reason why I want them to read it is because I want them to be at that same level. So when we know certain things are said, this is why they're said. Because when you talk about contracts, who would have thought you needed to say, even partial payment is an agreement? You know what I mean? That's not anything personally that I would even think or worry about, because I need my money up front as a consultant. And he talks about that too. I mean, everything. I mean, I get paid up front. And, for those people saying, how does that happen? It's just because that's what you need. You need your tools to make things happen. And I'm supposed to go into my own bag to make what your dream and passion is possible. That's not how this works. But I want to stay on this book. I want you guys to get this book. If I'm able to do, I'm going to do more reviews on his work. I just don't know if my wife, it was her idea. She's like, you should go chapter by chapter. And I said, let me get permission. So, I try to keep these short, sweet, so you can get back to your work. I'm going to get back to mine. But I am enjoying this, and I'm just glued in. And I was reading Snowden's book before this. Like, this threw me off Snowden's book. Like, and you guys, you don't know me like that, but that type of stuff is kind of right up my alley. Private servers, all type of tricks behind the scenes in technology. They never see you coming. But it had me stop, and I have like a whole list of books now that I got to read on top of all Alan's work that I gotta read. So get this book. Don't skip one page. Get it. Go get it at your library if you aren't able to buy it. And then once you get that, you're gonna want to mark it up. I mean, I started, it's like I was back in grad school, boop, 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 boop. And I'm just, just marking it up and having a good time. And we're gonna go from there. This book could easily be an audiobook. There's some graphs though that, how you do that. I just finished an audiobook of my own for the quick tips and guide to Christian music for those artists who don't read or say, I don't have time to read. Okay, you don't have time to read, you don't have time to progress. You don't have time to make money, you don't have time to profit. Go read a book. The difference between you and your competition is a lot of times what they're reading. Boom. I'm done. Get back to work, y'all. Be blessed.